I have before you two balloons. They appear to be identical in shape, size, and stature. But which one will rise to great heights in life, and which one will fall and focus on excuses and self-pity? As I release these balloons, please identify which one closely resembles you. See, one of these balloons are full of nothing. No hope, no passion, very little drive. But it looks good on the outside. But this balloon will rise above adversity and challenges that come with life. See, as a young man, as my nephew talked about growing up as an inner city, I thought I was going to play in the NFL. I was a good athlete. 6 touchdowns a game. I had a nickname, BT Express. Touchdown Taylor. Pause with me for a minute. Let me put on a couple of rings from back in the day so I can reminisce. See, like you, the older I get, the better I was. See, I would line up in that backfield, and they'd pitch me the ball. Before I could even start running, the band played the fight song. Touchdown. And I told my mother, I said, Mom, I'm going to play in the NFL. My mother said, that's not the standard in this house. And if you make anything less than a B, NFL in this house means not for long will you be playing. But just like any young person, I tested her. And when grades came out, we were undefeated going into the city championship, and report cards came out, and I had all A's and 1 F. And back then, they didn't have computers, so the teachers wrote your grades in pen. And as any smart 8th grader, I took my pen and changed that F to a B. And when she found out, I remember sitting on that little twin bed, and she walks in the room and she says, baby, this doesn't look right. You're done. I said, Ma, no way. We play for the city championship in 2 weeks. She says, you're done. See, it's about values and standards, young man, and commitment. The principal comes by the house, the athletic director comes by the house, the coach comes by the house, they're begging and pleading with her to let me play. And she says to them, if you're not here to talk to me about that F, I won't have to ask you to leave. I remember sitting on the couch watching my best friend walk by to go play that game. We were favored by 2 touchdowns. They lost that game 54-0. Best decision she ever made in my life. You know why? She had standards and values. And that's what matters. My assistant sent me an email once about this coach, John Scalinas. And the message of this coach was about standards. See, this baseball plate is 17 inches. If you play Little League baseball, high school baseball, or Major League Baseball, this plate is 17 inches. And if a pitcher cannot get the ball across the plate, the umpire doesn't widen the plate. How many of you widen the plate when it comes to your best employee, your children, rather than hold them to the standard? See, great coaches, great leaders like my aunt, sometimes you have to have the courage to call it out. My mother would not allow me to play that game. My best friend, as he walked by, he came to see me, and they were all mad at me. And for years, I wondered, how much had I interrupted their life? Well, at my best friend's funeral, all of us were around the coffin. And all my friends shared with me how much they envied me because my mother held me to a higher standard. See, those things are hard. But to do those things around values and standards, you must trust yourself. How many of you trust yourself? Question. If a bird lands on the branch, does the bird trust the branch or does the bird trust its wings? Clue. I've seen many birds land on branches, but what I've never seen is a branch break and the bird fall and die. But most of us don't have the courage to step out on the ledge when you can't see the next step. We get caught up in things around, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, my mother didn't believe that either. See, I know many people. I know LeBron James. I know Michael Jordan. I know Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama. I even know Oprah Winfrey and Martha Stewart. But I have one small problem. They don't know me. So why aren't you focusing on things to be known for? Trust yourself. And as you go through your career, it's about ownership. Again, I was once asked, did I believe in the glass ceiling? Do it exist? Absolutely exists. But you know what? The glass ceiling was never my biggest challenge. My biggest challenge was the sticky floor. Things that I could control. Things that I could focus on. I remember going to my first interview right out of college with Pepsi Cola. I'm an honor student. I'm on the dean's list, electrical engineering. I somewhat felt entitled. Being an African American, great grades, you should give me the job. I show up to the interview. I didn't iron my shirt. I didn't lay out my suit. I had no ownership. And when I show up to the interview, I walk in, I look at the person. Hi, how are you doing? Have a seat. Sure. Tell me about my company. You make soft drinks. Because I didn't own it, I did not prepare. And here's where he really stumped me. He says, tell me how diverse are we as a company? Because I didn't do my homework, I didn't prepare, which was on me, I struggled to answer that question. So I tried to buy a little time and said, could you repeat that again? He says, how diverse are we? He's expecting me to say, we own Frito-Lay, Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's our portfolio. Now I'm starting to sweat because I didn't prepare. How diverse are we? He says. I gave it my best shot. I said, you put your products in a can and a bottle. He says, young man, that's the worst interview and worst answer I've ever heard. The only thing you did right was not lie. He says, but I like you. I'm going to invite you back for another interview in my office, one-on-one. Between that interview and the next Pepsi interview, I interviewed with Goodyear. Let's talk about how that interview went. Extreme ownership. I think I earned that shirt 3 times. Laid it out, went to the library, got these brochures. I had a whole stack of them. Couldn't wait to get to the interview. I walk in the interview, I see the gentleman, I grab his hand. Have a seat, tell me about my company. Sure. Pop that briefcase out, put the stack of brochures on the corner of the desk. You're operating 4 regions, North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. You're almost taken over by Goldsmith. Here's what your stock prices are. Here's what your forecasts are. He's looking at me like, where did this kid come from? And when I finished, I walked out. He says, we're going to interview 5 more people. We'll get back with you in 2 weeks. I was in Chicago. I was going to spend the weekend. It was in Illinois. The next day, they called my house, and my mother answered the phone. Ring. Wasn't any caller ID back then. Ring. Hello. Is Billy Taylor in? No, he isn't. May I take a message? Yes, this is Goodyear. Well, good. How did he do? It says, well, he did all right. That's good. Well, are you going to offer him a job or what? They says, well, we like to talk to him about that. Well, listen, he's going to talk to me about it, so you might as well tell me now. They said, yes, ma'am, we're going to offer him the job. Good, he'll take it. When does he start? 30 years later, I'm still here. But the point I want to make is, one was entitlement, one was ownership. So what we're going to do, I want everybody, you're going to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And those at the back, I want you to please watch the screen. I'm going to ask you to stand up. I'm going to give you the standard. We're going to exercise. Be very clear what I want you to do. I'm going to demonstrate. We're going to put our hands up. We're going to go to the left, count of 3. We're going to go to the right, count of 3. We're going to come back in the middle, do spirit fingers. And then on the count of 3, we're going to clap and wake our body up. But before you get started, 5% of you are about to fail. Some of you are not even going to even try because I told you you're going to fail. And what you're going to see is what happens in real life. But if I didn't have you go through this exercise, you wouldn't believe it. Because in the absence of ownership comes blame. So please stand up. Here we go. Hands up. Beautiful picture. To the left. 1, 2, 3. To the right. 1, 2, 3. In the middle. Spirit fingers. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now, I clearly said clap on 3. Why did you clap on 2? Somebody tell me. Judy, why? Oh, you follow me, so you're going to blame me because you can't focus.
I'm being honest.
I know, and I'm glad. People will follow what you do before they follow what you say. How often are you modeling the way? Do you create a culture where someone can walk up to you and say, Mr. Taylor, you said clap on 3, but you clapped on 2. Are you bigger than the process? That's how you build culture. Please have a seat. One of the things I talk about is having values and believing in you. I have a saying, if you make people visible, they'll make you valuable. Our CEO, Rich Kramer, outstanding leader, outstanding man, and has been a role model in my life and a mentor. I would take assignments that others didn't take. But what people didn't know, Rich Kramer would send me handwritten letters of encouragement, handwritten letters around small accomplishments. He would reach out on the phone and call me. When I first moved to Akron, I remember getting a phone call, looking at my caller ID, it says Rich Kramer. And when the CEO calls you, that's like a horror movie. And he came down and we talked about football. We talked about Rachel. We talked about my kids, Alex. We didn't talk about EBIT. That's the best retention tool you can have. It's about being inclusive. Inclusive. I'm going to close with a story where I learned the most as a leader. I was coaching high school track. And we were a good team on the local level. Now let me give you the demographics of my relay team. I had 3 white girls and 1 little black girl. And we did great on the local scene, but we had to go into Chicago and compete. And so I dropped them off and I said, go ahead and warm up. And when we finish warming up, I'll be here, and we'll go ahead and start to go through our exchanges. When I show up, they're not warming up. And I walk up and I ask, why? Fear has set in. Fear. Our greatest fear is not failure, it's what people think of us. That's our greatest fear. And so I said, what are you doing? And there's one smart one in every group. Coach, you didn't tell us. We were number 49 out of 50 teams. What does that matter? What does that matter? I'm going to be very clear to you. Them black girls fast, Coach. So let's get in the car. I take them back to the little dorm. Go to your room and talk this out and come back and convince me that you're going to compete. They go to their room. The little black girl French braids the little white girl's hair. And they come back looking like 3 little white black girls. You think that's going to make you run faster? Go back to your room and then come back and let's talk about a real strategy. She says, Coach, give me your rule book. So I get my rule book. They go back and they come down the next morning and they're serious, looking like 3 little white black girls. She says, Coach, we have one other thing we'd like to ask you for. We'd like to change the order of the relay team. We want to put the fastest girl first, the second fastest girl second, the third fastest girl third, and we want to put the donkey on the end. You can't call her that. She came up with it, Coach. And I said no. No. Same girls, same mindset, same place. Last. My assistant coach looked at me and he says, you always told them to trust you. It's time for you to trust them. So they go to the track, they line up, they sound the gun, pow, we're out, back, boom. We're out front, we should be, I have my fastest girl, back, boom. Get to the next, back, boom. And we're going to the final leg. And I'm sitting there, and everybody's watching their mark. And every other team has their thoroughbred, and I have my, And now I'm praying, her parents are going to kill me. When my girl hits the mark, my girl leaps out and she screams, stop! My little anchor says, boom, takes the stick, takes off running. What do you think every other team did? Before they realized what happened, we were 15 meters ahead of everybody. And so at that point, I'm looking for my anchor and my team captain. What were you thinking? You can't do that. And I got that teenage answer. Nowhere in this rule book does it say we can't say stop. It says you have to have a cadence. And if they can't focus, Coach, that's on them. Give me that rule book. I'll deal with you later. I get to the podium. What do you think happened? I became a 16-year-old. Coach, we have to disqualify your team. Where in this rule book does it say you can't say stop? On the way back, I said, no, you cannot break the rules inside the rules. It's about integrity. They cried, they went to their room, they came back to my room and said, Coach, we let us down, we let you down. You believed in us. We never gave ourselves a chance. Put the relay back together, Coach. Let us go out and learn something. They put their order back together, changed their relay up. Pow! First leg, second leg, third leg. By the time we got to our anchor, we're in third place. I'm crying as they come down the runway. I'm crying because that day, Coach was coached. That day, I realized that you're forever a student. And the best leaders are the best students. I want to share something with you about what matters most. I have a couple of slides of my son. Both of my children graduated from St. Vincent St. Mary's. I'm a part of their board, Tom Caron. Most of my board friends are here. And we went to the gym every morning at 5:30 before I went to work. And that's a picture of my son. And he would put up 300 shots a day with a goal of making 60%. Because at that point, we were measuring what mattered. And if he could become a great jump shooter, he could play. Well, the picture there is when the last day, and they were traveling to Columbus. I had to leave and go to a meeting. So I had to leave early. He called me to tell me what what percentage he had shot. If you look at that picture, he's sad. His best day ever, he's sad. And when he called me, he says, "Dad, it didn't mean much because you weren't there." And Dad, I realized at that point what mattered was our relationship. And this was never about basketball. See, Dad, I will never remember all the games you came to. But what I realized at that moment, I'll never forget the ones you missed. And often we get caught up in our careers, we get caught up in those day-to-day things, and we forget what really matters. And so when they played that final game and they won the state championship and the buzzer went off and all the rest of his teammates ran over there to cut down the net and they ran over there to get inside the photo and hold the trophy, my son ran to the rail to talk to his father, and we cried for 5 minutes. See, when I thought we were measuring what matters most was our relationship. As you can see the text, he said, "Dad, you don't know how much you mean to me." And as I responded back to him, my love for you is incomprehensible. I'm grateful God blessed me to be your father. See, that's what mattered most. And as I close, this bowl of M&Ms have different colors, different shapes, different sizes. But if you close your eyes and open your mind and reach in, the only thing that matters is what's inside. Thank you, and God bless.
I told you all you were in for a real treat this morning, so thank you, Billy. And we have a small gift here, just as a sign and a symbol of our appreciation. It's an ivory sewn stope of two hearts intersecting, just to remind you of this moment and remind all of us of just what an inspiration you've been to us this morning and moving forward. And also a donation will be made in your honor. So we're grateful for you and your presence here with us today, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
Put the rest of your funds.